What's it going to be then, eh? Hello and welcome along to a new video where I'm going to talk to you today about what stuff I have collected over the years to do with A Clockwork Orange, mainly in book and physical media form. Now the reason why I've got a few books here is because I used to collect the books when I used to see a new version of it, even though it's exactly the same book, although it's not. I used to get like the next version on paperback. I used to enjoy having them on the shelves. I haven't got the shelves anymore for books, so for that reason I've been whittling down my collection. I did have a third edition original hardback with dust cover, which I've sold on eBay. I also had an original paperback, which I've sold on eBay. So the next one I've got, which I think was released in about the mid-70s, is this version here, which I got off my cousin, who read it and said that it was too violent for her, and she was right. It is pretty violent. It's also written with the NADSAT language, which is the teenage slang of the future, which was invented by Anthony Burgess, the writer of this book. Now the reason why I've got two of these is because this version is the full version that Anthony Burgess wrote, and this version is the one that was truncated, made shorter. They dropped the last chapter for some reason when they released it in America. Now Stanley Kubrick read this book, as he read many books, and he used this book as the template for his film. So the film ends in the same point as this book does, but really the book in itself, the full version, is the best version because it does sort of come in a full circle and resolves itself, and I do prefer this book. But the reason why I've got this too is just to show the differences between the two. Also, I've got this one as well, which I'd probably have for a reading copy, which I don't know when it was released, but it is the full version. Might have a small forward in the front. I've got this one as well, which is a bit more of a newer one, and it was released with a very good forward. A very lengthy forward, so I found out a few more little gems about this film and book from this book, which is quite good to keep for that. The forward is good to read by and so on. The one that I actually do read all the time when I go to read The Clockwork Orange is this book here. It's a hardback. It's released free with the independent paper. It's spine number 1 that they put in the series of banned books. And you could say Clockwork Orange was probably banned. The film was definitely banned in a sort of certain sense. So this is the one that I go for when I read the book, and this is the full version as well. So back in the day when you wanted to watch a Clockwork Orange, you couldn't, because in UK it wasn't available. It wasn't banned, it was just not made readily available. There's a bird up there. Not made readily available to the UK public because Stanley Kubrick was a bit concerned in the early 70s when The Clockwork Orange came out that a lot of copycat gangs were copying the violence and dressing like the gang members, and it was causing a bit mayhem on the streets. He didn't like what he heard, so he withdrew it from sale or being able to shown on UK. So what happened was when he died in 1999, then the film was available to release. I don't know if he could stop it when he died, but obviously it didn't stop, so it got released. But the first thing I got from it, the first official release I got from it, was this VHS from Sweden or Finland, and it's Kellepeli Appelsini. It's in English. It does have burnt on Finnish subtitles, but it is an original. It cost me £30 in the early 90s, quite a hefty sum. But I did want to have this in a good version because I'd only seen it in a really bad 5th generation copy. So this was my first introduction to seeing this film as it's meant to be, and it was pretty good, mate, I've got to admit. It's not widescreen. It has it's a full screen picture, but it fills the full screen. It's not square. So that was my first ever. And I will, even whatever happens with A Clockwork Orange, I will keep this one for nostalgia purposes. In a car boot sale for about £5, somebody was selling the US version on VHS. So I thought, well, I'll have that for my collection, which is pretty irrelevant. I've never played it. I think it's on the NTSC format. but it's there, and I don't like the way the Americans, it comes out of the box like that, but never mind. American releases sort of do that. I prefer them to come out the top, but I don't know what that's called. It's maybe a slipcase, I don't know. But that one's there purely just because I got it and I've kept it, but it's of no use really, if you know what I mean. And you'll see there's not much artwork changes in the releases of Clockwork Orange, which is another reason why it seems strange to double dip, because I'm not really getting much of a difference in the films, because Kubrick, when he made a film, he would try and get rid of as much of the outtakes or the scenes he didn't use. He had one version of film and he burns everything else. The only thing I think that I've heard of that has anything extra in it, or has a longer version, is The Shining, which the American version has a longer cut than the UK version, the one that's released in the UK. Now that's all put to right on the 4K release, which has across the world, which has the full version in it, which I personally prefer the full version. Now this was the first time it was ever released on DVD in the UK, and had to get it straight away. Obviously it's on the good old snap cases, and a good version, good picture quality, no extras, and I don't know what the soundtrack would be on this one. I don't know even if it tells you what you've actually got here for your audio. No, can't see one. But it was great to see how it was meant to see properly on DVD, and that at that point you thought, well, that's the zenith of that one. And then I was told, probably off Horgoss 73, that the American version was that slightly bit better on the picture quality. So I did get that one, and I've got to admit that the picture quality on here is better than the UK version, just slightly, mate. And it more or less looks exactly the same as the other one. Obviously, it doesn't have the 18 certificate on, and I think I've watched this once. It's probably another one that there's no reason for us to keep it, but I've kept it at this point. It might all go if there's a 4K out there. So this was when it was released in 2008 as a 2-disc special edition on DVD. It's got a disc of extras on it. What I would like, it's got an audio commentary as well by Malcolm McDowell and historian Nick Redman, which I think I have watched, listened to, sorry. And the audio on this is 5.1 Dolby Digital, so that would obviously be an upgrade from the DVD. And it was a lovely version, but this version came out again exactly the same, with exactly the same cover as a Blu-ray, UK Blu-ray, and it did have the extra disc on. I think the extra disc was still maybe in standard definition, but it was looking pretty good in Blu-ray. And at this point, that's the best we have. I do know that it seems that all of Stanley Kubrick's films are getting re-released in 4K, and from 2001 and The Shining that already have, and also just to come out is Doctor Strangelove has just come out on 4K in America, and Full Metal Jacket is going to come out on 4K, and I would imagine that Clockwork Orange, with it being 50 years old next year, it's a perfect opportunity to re-release this with a brand new remaster, which I don't know when was the last time it was remastered, probably in the early 90s, in the late 90s, and that would mean that you would get probably the definitive version of A Clockwork Orange, and hopefully you would have all the extras ported over, and you'd have maybe a nice box set like they did with 2001. I think that would be an amazing thing to have, and I'm sure they were talking about it being remastered in 4K and coming out with the cinema as well, which would be another experience to have. So I did upgrade to the UK Blu-ray, but I swapped that with a preference, and this was one of my good friend Horgoss 73's extra that he would like to have swapped and got rid of. So I got first refusal, and this is the US media book, and it's I don't know if it's region A or not. It probably is, and I would imagine, although I can't see it on here, probably be in its 5.1 surround sound, Dolby surround sound, I would hope. It's a 2-disc edition, and probably got everything that the other disc has, so you wouldn't be losing anything. It's a lovely package, one of my favourites on the shelf, and lovely picture on the back there. And obviously with it being a media book, it's full of pictures as well. You get some great stuff in here, and some written words as well. There's lots of, I'll have to be careful what I show here, because you just don't know what's in here, but you get lots of stuff in here, lots of great things. It's a lovely addition. I don't think I would ever let this go, actually, because I do like it that much, but I'm really looking forward to the 4K coming out if it does. So that's, for someone who doesn't like double dipping, that's probably the most double dipped, or whatever, quintuple dipped that I've ever done in my life with any particular title. And funny enough, like I say, it's not my favourite title. There's no different versions there. There's no ones with 20 minutes extras, or there's no different cuts. The whole thing is the same cut. The whole pictures on the front are nearly the same as well, but for some reason I just liked to upgrade or just get different versions of A Clockwork Orange. Maybe in the future that'll all change when I get the 4K, and most of those things will be gotten rid of for space purposes, of course. So anyway, thanks very much for listening to this video, and if you liked it, please subscribe. And I do release more videos, probably maybe 3-4 a week if I can, and I'm really looking forward to releasing more stuff like this, with maybe focusing on a title, focusing on your different releases. Maybe I can talk about the releases that are out there. Maybe I haven't got them, but I can tell you what's the best ones, what ones to avoid, how they were duplicated, why they were duplicated. So anyway, thanks very much for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one, and all that Cal.